All right, this is the video for day 4 for the 30-day business, how to build a profitable business in 30 days. Day 4 is a really exciting topic, and it's a short one. I promise this one's short because I don't have a million things to say about it. There is just an exercise that we're going to walk through, and I'm going to show you how I think about answering questions about your addressable market, the demographics and the size. All right, so let's just jump right in and start poking around at some examples so that we can answer the questions of how big is your opportunity, because that's really what this is all about. How many people want what you're selling, want your product or service? How many people want your offering? So let's take a look. So you have my screen here. Let me quickly go back to this slide here and talk for just a second. You see these nested circles, and they aren't overlapping in the sense like a Venn diagram would be. A Venn diagram looks like this, where you have one circle and you might have another circle, and then you might have a third circle like this, and you're like, oh, this right here is overlapping. That's like a Venn diagram. What this is demonstrating is nested circles. And so what we're getting then is instead of 3 distinct circles, we're getting the whole world. We're getting a subpart of that whole world, and then we're getting an even smaller subpart of that world. This circle here is completely contained inside of this circle here. And the same with this small circle. It's completely contained inside of this circle here, and it's also completely contained inside of this circle here. It's a member of it. So a way to think about that is that your total addressable market is the whole world, okay? Potentially, right? Now, there's certain products that couldn't be for the whole world. So a product for people who suffer from hair loss. The whole world is not your total addressable market, okay? But for hair loss, your total addressable market is anyone with hair loss, okay? Not everyone with hair loss, though, would be your customer. They might actually be being served by somebody else already. So that would be the served market, the people who are in your total addressable market, but who are already using a product. They're being served. That's the served market. And then the target market are the people that you feel either haven't had the product yet, or that you can convince to pull away from your competitors. Okay, that's kind of how you look at it. We used hair loss. Fantastic, right? But that is a subset of the total population of the world. So when I say the whole world, I mean the whole world of people who might want to buy your product, possibly, right? So let's go through a little, mental brainstorming, kind of like thought experiment, okay? So I'm going to ask a question, and then we're going to try to answer it by just using our intuition about market size, okay? And this is how you do, market sizing, how you do size of opportunity. But then you can go places and get actual data. You could search online for some answers to like how many bottles of shampoo are purchased every year. You might find a good answer, you might not. The answer might be hiding behind a paywall, and you can get the entire industry of hair products and all of the competitive analysis that you want, but for a cool price of $5,000, and it's like a 20-page PDF, right? But we can do some intuition here, and we can do a thought experiment, And one that I really liked was a question that was given to me in business school in a mock interview. Maybe it was a real interview. Well, I didn't work for that company, so for me it was practice, I guess. But the question was this: how many tires are sold each year? And we'll just say in America. And to be clear, we're going to say in, the USA, United States of America. Okay, that was the question. How many tires? And to be, complete here, what they said specifically was how many car tires are sold each year in the USA. And they were asking this question not because they didn't know the answer or they thought that I knew the answer. The reason they asked the question is because they wanted to test my thought process. And this thought process is not uniquely mine. It was just a way of thinking about demographics and opportunity size that you'll learn in any business course. They just wanted to hear me regurgitate the thought process, right? At any rate, there's extremely detailed strategies around what you would do to get the answer to this question, or you can do something that's a lot simpler. We're going to probably do something that's toward the simpler side of things, but I do want to explain how you can get some good intuition around questions like this. Okay, so how many tires are sold each year in the USA? And we'll do a few of them to see if we can get some information that, or gets guiding information about our ideas that we're moving forward with in our 30-day project. All right, so the first thing you do, so you'd ask yourself the question, how many tires are sold each year in the USA? You can't just answer that question blindly. If you have the answer, then you already know the answer, right? You wouldn't really need to think through anything more than just pulling up the answer. But tires are tied to cars, okay? So first question I'm going to ask, it's a related question here, but that is, cars in America and USA, okay? All right. How many cars are in the USA? I'm not sure how many cars are in the USA. And cars are typically owned by people in the USA. Okay. And that's one place where cars, the number of cars could come from. So we could do a little equation. It's like cars per people, right? So how many cars do people own? But you know what? I missed a step here in our analysis, because what we really care about is something that's, it's obvious, right? Oh, goodness me. This thing's going crazy. We want just this part here. The first question is, we want to know how many tires per car, question mark. Okay, so how many tires are sold each year in the USA? Well, first we want to say, how many tires are there on each car? Okay, and there's 4 per car, plus what, right? You have a spare. But not all cars have a spare tire. But so this is a maybe. Maybe there's a spare. Okay, so tires per car, there's 4. So I don't know. Let's do an average. I'm just gonna say there's 4.5 tires per car in the USA. Okay, and that's because some cars have a spare and some cars do not. Okay, And I'm actually, now that I'm kind of thinking out loud here, we know a little bit more about, we can have some intuition around cars and the tires on them. How often, so okay, we do want to know the ultimate number of cars, because once we get to a number of cars, then we can do some math and just say, oh, this number times our 4.5 gives us the total number of tires. But here's another element. That's tires on the road today. We want to know how many are sold each year. Okay, and that could be sold with a car or sold individually, because they are going out into the consumer world. So we want to know something about tires that are purchased for existing vehicles. Okay, so we can put that here. In fact, I'm going to put that down here. I like where this was before. Okay, and again, this is really free form because we're thinking through it and getting some intuition around these types of questions. Okay, so we want people in the USA. Another question I have is, how often are tires replaced? Right? And we're going to say about 20,000 miles. 20,000 miles is when you replace tires. Okay? That may be accurate, that may be not. Not everyone does it at 20,000 miles. In fact, I'm thinking, you know what? People like to kind of push the envelope. We're going to go, we're going to push closer to 30,000. Let's just say a nice round number, 25,000 miles before they buy a new set of 4 tires. And we'll just say every 25,000 miles, 4 new tires are purchased. Okay. Now that brings us another question, like how long does it take to drive 25,000 miles? Okay, now we're looking, the average commute in America, and this is just something that I have in my head. Maybe you know something different, and I'm not using Google here, but I think the average commute is 33 miles a day. We're going to say it's just 30 miles, 15 miles to work, 15 miles home. That would be nice. I was 60 miles in, 60 miles back at my last job. That was fun. So 30 miles a day, right? And we're going to times that by 300 and how many work days are there? Because here, this is the other question, right? So let me just make sure that we're thorough here. How many miles per year is what we're solving for right now? Miles per year? Question. Okay. Well, that's going to tell us we need to do miles per day. Okay, and then to get that answer, we're like, how many commute days? Because not every day are they driving all those miles for the miles per day. So how many commute days? I think there's something like average of 20 work days a month. So 20 times 12. What's that math? Times 12. Right, 240, right? Yeah. 240 out of 365. So 240, and we thought that they were driving. A minute ago we talked 30 miles a day. So we have 30 times 240, which is 7,200 a year. 7,200 miles per year on your tires, right? Give or take, right? Maybe you were sick a few days, or maybe you drove on the weekends. These are just work days, but we're going to say there's 7,200 miles a year. Okay, so we have an answer. 7,200 miles per year on those tires. And again, the number we had up here was 25,000 miles until you need to replace. Okay, so we have 25,000 miles, and we're going to divide that by 225,000 miles divided by 7,200 is 3.4 years. Great. So we get 4 new tires, 4.5 new tires. Eesh, right? You know what? I'm not going to say 4.5. That's just their starting number because they don't buy a new spare when they get new tires. 4.4 new tires every 3.47, so 3.5 years. All right, so hopefully you're still with me, okay? So now we have, how often they're getting 4 new tires. Okay, so let's make a summary. Let's get a summary here, right? So with a new car, so this is, let's say, one person. When they get a new car, they get 4.5 tires. Okay, and this is year 1. Okay, now this person, the same person, right? New tires. There's 4 new tires. So let's move this over. Okay, 4 new tires during, like, halfway through the 3rd year. So like in year 3. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some averages here. So every first year, and then you go 1 year gets you to year 2, another full year gets you to year 3, and then half a year. So it's 2.5. Well, no, it's 3.5 years. So that's year 4, 4.5. Okay, so what we know then is that one person will get 8.5 tires every 4.5 years. All right, are you following me here? I mean, this is just like pulling numbers out of the air, but this is kind of what we've got to. Now, the logic that we're using to do like total number of tires is we have we've said that some cars have a spare, some do not, right? That's up there. Cars in the USA, we said how many cars per person are there, or how many people per car, right? That's another part here. We want to know the population. That's still an open number here. I think the population is 400 million. What? $328 million. That's 2019 number, right? 328 million. So 330 million. We'll say 330 million is the population. People per cars. Children per capita is around 2. Like, so 2.1, I think, something like that. So like households with 3 people in it. So some families don't have cars, some families have multiple cars. I'm going to average to, instead of cars per people, it'll be people per cars. So it'd be 3 people per car. Now, that means down here our numbers are changing. Okay? See, because what we assumed was one person here got a new car. So one person, what I really meant was one new car. So one car had 4.5 tires in their first year, and then got 4 new ones on year 4.5, actually, right? Which meant one person or one car. So this should say car here. One car. One car has 8.5 tires in 4.5 years, which means 3 people get 8.5 tires every 4.5 years. Okay, now we're getting close to an answer, okay? Because how many people are in the United States? 330 million. Now, if we want to know how many tires per year, let's get this answer first, and then we will go to our final answer, okay? 8.5 tires every 4.5 years. Okay, simple math there is 8.5 divided by 4.5 is 8.5 divided by 4.5 equals 1.88. I think that's opposite. No, that's right. So that's what we got here. So every 3 people in the United States, on average, are getting 1.88 tires. So they're almost getting 2 tires a year. And because you can't buy 88% of a tire, okay, this is actually an important concept. You can't say, oh, Americans, or the number of tires sold is a fraction. Like, you can't sell partial tires. At least I haven't seen it. Like, I just like a fourth of a tire, please. Or, you know, the average is 4.5 tires, and so I would like, 0.5 tire. I'd like the average amount of tires. No. So it's going to average to 2. Okay? So every 3 people, 2 tires per year. Now the answer is simple. Okay? Every 3 people, there's 2 tires per year. And that leaves us with some simple math. So 330 million people divided by 3 gives us the number of cars on the road, right? So every 3 people, 2 tires per year, or this is equal to cars equals 2 new tires per year, okay? Which means for cars, if we have, we know how many cars relative to the population, it's 3 people per car, and so we have 110 million vehicles, each of which is buying 2 tires per year, which means we now have our answer, right? We have 110 million times 2, which is 220 million tires sold per year. Okay, so that was the analysis. Okay, so we're looking at total market size. Question is, how many are sold? Now, I didn't do things like, okay, how many are Michelin? 1 second. So there you have it. So this analysis is, there's no cookie cutter way to do it, because there's no 2 industries or products that are the same. The demographic that you're selling to is not the same. This one was largely tied to something other than people. People helped us get to the answer, like how many cars on the road? Well, we need to know how many people per car there are, so let's look at how many people there are to get the total number of cars. Okay, that worked well. And so we solved a couple of different problems here, and depending on the product and depending on how it ties to other pieces of the market, you'll need to answer different questions, and you'll need to ask different questions. So you got to make sure that your questions are covering. Oh, I love you too. You need to make sure that you are thorough and you have coverage with your questions. And continuing to ask where the numbers come from, how they interact with the product, how the people interact with it is very important as you get your total addressable market. Okay, so hopefully this exercise was helpful. Pick one, pick anything you want. Try to just recreate the tires analysis that I just did yourself, just from numbers that you can come up with, or try how many boxes of cereal are sold. That'd be a good one to do. But go ahead and give this a shot, and good luck. We'll talk to you in the next one.